On number 21, we are given the equation 4x squared plus 81y squared equals 324, and we are asked to graph. We can identify this conic section as an ellipse because it has x squared, y squared. They are added together and they have different coefficients. Now, in general, our ellipse in standard form we know should be equal to 1. In order to get this equation equal to 1, we'll have to divide the right side by 324. Well, if we divide the right side, we must also divide the left side because we need to maintain our equality. Dividing each term by 324 gives us x squared over 81. All we did was reduce that fraction. 4 divided by 324 is the same as 1 over 81. We get y squared over 4, 81 over 324 reduced to 1 over 4. And on the right, 324 divided by itself is equal to 1. This is the standard form equation for an ellipse. Notice that our A is determined by the larger of the two numbers. This is a squared, or 81 is equal to a squared. Therefore, A is equal to 9, plus or minus 9 from the center in the x direction. B is going to be plus or minus 2 units away from the center in the y direction. Now, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's go ahead and place our center at 0, 0. And remember, we're going to go a units, or 9 units, in both x directions, so both right and left. We'll label these with small v's because these are our vertices. Now, to actually give those points, we would have 9, 0 and negative 9, 0. Notice that the 9 and negative 9 appear in the x coordinates because these were under the x squared, and those are our vertices on the x-axis. We can find our covertices by using the b value and going in the y direction 2 units. We can label those C because those are our covertices. Now notice that the b values should be in the y coordinates. So we have 0, 2 and 0, negative 2. If we want, we can now sketch in our ellipse. Notice it is longer in the x direction than the y direction. The x-axis would be called our major axis. The y-axis would be called our minor axis. Your vertices always appear on your major axis as well as your foci. In order to find our foci, remember, foci are determined by the equation c squared equals a squared minus b squared. We get our a squared and b squared from our equation. A squared, remember, was 81. B squared was 4. C squared, therefore, equals 77. In order to find the value of C, we would just take the square root of both sides, and we would get C equals plus or minus the square root of 77. Remember, the foci will appear on the same axis as the vertices. The square root of 77 is between two numbers. It's between 8 and 9. Therefore, we can find our foci between 8 and 9 on the x-axis, and we can place them in there. Just to finish this up, we'll put c values here as plus or minus square root of 77. To write down the actual points, remember we would have them in the x-coordinate spot, so square root of 77, 0, and negative square root of 77, 0. Looks like we've identified everything.